In the summer of 1993, 12 children were dropped off at a birthday party in a storied mansion nestled in southern Illinois. Once a grand estate, the Braxton house had been repurposed into a rustic campground lodge, weathered but full of charm. The parents were promised the party would end promptly by 5, but by 5:15, the house stood silent, deserted. No footprints, no laughter, no screams, no trace. More than 3 decades later, the only surviving sibling of one of the missing children returned. His name was Evan Weldon. He was just 5 when his older sister Claire disappeared that day. Now, at 37, Evan was a trauma therapist, someone who'd spent a lifetime trying to understand loss, yet never found peace. Haunted not just by memories, but by silence. What he uncovered beneath the rotting ballroom floor of the Braxton estate would change everything. That party, the one never meant to happen, was the last place 12 children were ever seen. Their absence tore families apart and left an entire town suspended in quiet, aching questions. On July 10, 1993, the estate had hosted its final celebration, Claire Weldon's 10th birthday. Her mother had spared no effort: party hats, a unicorn-themed scavenger hunt, and a towering cake with 12 perfectly frosted slices. All 12 children, ages 9 to 11, had arrived holding paper invitations edged in glittery pink. Parents waved goodbye with smiles that would be the last moments they'd ever see their children. At 4:45 p.m., Claire's mother stepped outside to take a phone call. At 5:02, she returned to a ballroom devoid of sound or presence. The cake sat untouched. The candles had melted down to puddles of wax. The words, "Happy Birthday, Claire," smeared across the frosting where a child's hand had passed through. As the other parents arrived, their joy turned into confusion, then terror, and then the screaming began. Police scoured every inch of the estate: attics, crawl spaces, the hidden staircases rumored to exist since the mansion's Civil War days. Nothing. The front door was locked from the inside. No shattered glass, no signs of forced entry, no evidence of violence. The estate was shut down permanently 2 weeks later. Claire's family unraveled. Her father abandoned the home months later. Her mother vanished a year after, presumed dead by suicide, though her body was never found. Evan, the forgotten younger brother, grew up beneath the shadow of that disappearance. But instead of breaking him, the mystery became his mission. He studied trauma. He dissected the mechanisms of grief. And in 2024, 32 years later, he returned. July 10th, the same date. A coincidence or something deeper? Evan pulled into the gravel lot that had once welcomed a dozen cars carrying bright-eyed children. The iron gate was barely standing. A rusted archway above read Braxton Estate, though the B had long since fallen off, now dangling by a thread like a crooked tooth refusing to let go. He killed the engine and sat there, unmoving, sweat collecting at the base of his neck in the dead summer heat. Claire. He hadn't spoken her name aloud in years. She would have been 42 today. The pain twisted in him. Time hadn't dulled it. If anything, it had calcified into something colder, harder. He stepped out into the quiet, the blueprint tube clutched in one hand, a backpack slung over his shoulder containing a flashlight, gloves, crowbar, and the one thing no investigator ever had: an original architectural drawing of the mansion, pulled from a forgotten archive box in Williamson County. The mansion loomed like a monument to sorrow. Its siding peeled. Balconies sagged. A red X spray-painted over the main entrance marked it as condemned. Evan found a loose board near a side window and slipped inside. The temperature dropped like a stone. Dust hung in the air like breathless whispers. The grand ballroom stretched before him, silent and ruined. The warped wooden floor creaked under his boots as he crossed toward the stage, where everything had begun. It had always felt like the epicenter of the mystery, One surviving staff member once reported a strange clicking sound moments before the blackout. Some thought it was a radio. Others thought it was something else entirely. Evan knelt before the stage. Blueprint in hand, he scanned the design. And there it was. A sealed panel beneath the boards. A chamber that never appeared on any official floor plan. No access, no ventilation, a deliberate void. He ran his fingers over the wooden seam, too perfect to be coincidence. His pulse raced. He wedged the crowbar in and pried. And what waited below that stage had been waiting for 32 years. The wooden panel creaked and released with a sigh, revealing a rusted ladder that descended into shadow. Evan clipped the GoPro to his chest, powered on his floodlight, and lowered himself down. The shift in temperature was immediate, colder, denser. The walls were foam-insulated, their soundproofing black and crumbling with age. It felt less like a room and more like a tomb designed to silence. The concrete floor sloped gently toward a central drain, industrial and sterile. In one corner sat a simple wooden bench. Scratched deep into the surface were 12 names, some just initials, others scrawled out in uneven, desperate handwriting. He brushed dust away with a gloved hand. One name stopped him. Claire. The etching was jagged, hurried, as though her hands had trembled while carving it. Maybe it was a message. Maybe a goodbye. Scanning the room, he spotted a stack of child-sized plastic folding chairs, 12 in total, piled near a wall. Nearby lay birthday hats, faded, crumpled, still sparkling faintly with glitter. A rusted filing cabinet stood just beyond them. It groaned under his grip as he yanked open the top drawer. Inside, photographs, dozens, Polaroids, 35mm prints, dated in marker, July 10th, 1993. Evan's hands trembled as he sifted through them. Children stood stiffly against padded walls, some smiling nervously, others blindfolded, holding up numbered placards. One photo read, 10 were invited. Another showed 12 chairs on the ballroom stage. Only one sat empty. On the back, someone had written, "Well came. Only one walked out. Numbers matter." His floodlight flickered. Then softly behind him, a whisper. High, breathy, childlike. Evan turned sharply, the beam slicing the chamber, but the space remained still. Then it came again. 3 syllables. A breath not born from memory, but presence. You weren't supposed to come back. He froze. His lungs refused air. This wasn't imagination. This wasn't trauma. He'd helped countless survivors and knew how the mind fractured under pressure. But this was different. Intentional. Tangible. He scanned the space again, slower this time, noticing a dark smear on the 3rd rung of the ladder. Blood. A small streak, fresh. He snapped a photo, his pulse pounding. Near the bench, something protruded from beneath. A Polaroid. A girl in a yellow dress seated on the concrete, head bowed. "Claire, round 1, read the back. His fingers clenched around the photo. He needed to leave. Fast. But this couldn't be ignored. He had to report it. Someone official, someone credible, someone who might still care. He climbed back up the ladder, each rung heavier than the last. The ballroom had changed. Not visibly. The same fractured light filtered through broken windows, but something in the air felt denser. Wrong. The velvet curtain above the stage shifted slightly, though the room was still. Near the entrance, something new caught his eye. A corkboard, warped and brittle. Tacked to it, a torn piece of construction paper. "Happy 10th birthday, Claire." A faint fingerprint smudged the corner. Ash, not dust. Below it, carved into the wood paneling, a symbol, a circle with 12 radial lines, a clock with no hands, or maybe a game board. Evan stepped back, uneasy. This wasn't just a forgotten space. It had been designed, purposefully, methodically. This chamber wasn't a hiding place. It was a theater. Someone had built it to watch. By nightfall, he was back at his motel. On the nightstand sat a heavy-duty plastic box, cleaned of debris. now dry beside a Gideon Bible and a buzzing lamp. Faint initials marked the lid, CW. Inside were 3 items: a Hi-8 camcorder cassette labeled Claire Final, a stuffed rabbit missing one eye, and a letter in a sealed Ziploc bag. He opened the letter first. The handwriting was hers, Claire's. Slanted, looped. The same script from her childhood diaries. The date, July 9th, 1993. Hide it if I'm not back. Burn it if he finds it. Don't tell him I told. Evan's breath shortened. He read the rest in silence. I didn't invite all of them. 2 boys I didn't know came. Said they were friends of Sam. They laughed too loud. One had yellow teeth. They brought the box down. Said it was a game. Said we'd play the numbers. Chairs in a circle. 12. I think I was supposed to pick, but I didn't. So he did. Said only one gets out. The one who doesn't scream. Then he turned off the lights. Evan didn't move. It wasn't abduction. It was a game, a system, and someone had run it. He took the tape to his car. In the passenger seat sat his modified Hi-8 player. He slotted the cassette. The screen buzzed, then came to life. A child's birthday party, streamers, cake, Claire's voice laughing faintly. Then a cut, darkness, a circle of chairs, a plastic box in the center, a man's voice, calm, measured. Pick one. Claire's voice, trembling. No, then I'll pick. A child cried. Another said, this isn't funny anymore. Cut to black. One final line whispered, numbers matter. Silence. Evan ejected the tape and stared at the screen. That voice. It wasn't chaos, it wasn't fear. It was something worse, detached, like an experimenter collecting data. That night he made a call he hadn't dared to in years. Detective Ana Morales, retired, but still consulting. Cold cases were her post-retirement specialty. She answered on the second ring. Morales. I found the room, he said. It's real, and I think someone's been there since it closed. A pause. Then, where? The Braxton estate, under the ballroom. Another pause. You still have the tape? Yes. Don't share it. Not yet. I'll be there by morning. July 11th. Springfield. Illinois State Police Cold Case Division. Detective Morales didn't blink. The conference room buzzed faintly from an old HVAC unit. Only the blue glow of the playback screen lit their faces. The tape ended the same way it had before. A scream, a chair dragging across concrete. Then, numbers matter. Silence. When she spoke, her voice was calm, clipped. Where's the original camcorder? Gone, just the tape, and these. He gestured to the table. The letter, the rabbit. I remember it from her room. I can get DNA if you need it. I will, she said, but I already believe you. That caught him off guard. Because you're not the first to bring me something from that house. He leaned forward. What do you mean? 3 years ago, a contractor in Benton found a rotted mattress and a child's drawing hidden behind drywall. The handwriting matched one of the Braxton kids. Was it tested? Dismissed as a coincidence. No prints, no chain of custody. Case stayed closed. She tapped a photo of the chair circle. But what you found, the sealed room, the tape, her name carved into a bench, that's not folklore. That's evidence. She stood and paced. The momentum was shifting. This wasn't a story anymore. It was a case. And now it was open. You said the blueprint wasn't on public record. Evan nodded. I found it buried in a mislabeled box at the county archives. It showed the sealed chamber. No permits, no records, no contractor claims. Someone built it off the books, intentionally and secretly. Morales stopped at the door, thoughtful. I need to make a call to the regional field office, she said. You're coming with me. Where? Evan asked. She looked him dead in the eyes. Back to Braxton. By mid-afternoon, the Braxton estate was cordoned off with crime scene tape fluttering from rusted porch beams. State police patrolled the perimeter. Evan waited near the entrance while Morales and a young field tech, Detective Ian Becker, entered the house. They were under strict instructions. Nothing below the ballroom was to be touched. Evan leaned on the hood of Morales' cruiser, the distant rumble of thunder underscoring the tension. The trees swayed under low, brooding clouds. Something was tugging at his memory, a thread from the past. Not the search parties, not the vigils, the gift bag. He remembered his mother returning home with a small plastic bag handed over by a deputy. Recovered items, they'd said. Inside, a few cheap party favors, a paper crown, and Claire's folded birthday invitation. He remembered the design. 12 balloons. 11 were black, 1 was red. He had asked her about it. "The red one's me," she'd whispered. "The others are the numbers." He hadn't understood then. Now it made his skin crawl. Inside the chamber, Becker crouched by the wooden bench. 12 names, he murmured to Morales. Some new, some old. One just says 7, all caps. Morales crouched beside him. Read them. He recited Claire, Sam, Ezra, Paolo, Liz, Ms. Tarara, 7 Key, Jill, CW. She pointed at the last. Claire Weldon. Becker shook his head. That one's older. Carved differently. The others are rough, gouged in. This one, he pointed to another, looks burned, like someone branded it in. Morales scanned the ceiling. A vent shaft ran behind the foam. No fan. Could be a sound duct, or something else. Becker exhaled. What the hell was this room for? Morales didn't respond. Her phone buzzed. She stepped away to answer, her expression darkening. That was the Benton Sheriff's Office, she said, returning. A salvage crew clearing out an old warehouse found something. The company used to handle shipments for Braxton Estate. Becker straightened. And? They found a box. One of the children's names was burned into it. They left the estate as dusk fell. Evan rode in silence beside Morales, watching the countryside unfurl like a film reel stuck on repeat. Rusted gas stations, sagging barns, empty lots. Everything looked exactly the same as it had in 1993, and that sameness gnawed at him. At the warehouse, yellow tape fluttered in the doorway. A sunburned woman in oil-stained gloves met them. "You the detective?" she asked. Morales nodded. "What did you find?" The woman gestured toward a tarp. "Took us 40 minutes to get it open. Inside, boxes. Some labeled by year, others by number. We opened the smallest." She pulled back the tarp. A child's suitcase sat inside. Pink, worn. A name tag dangled from the zipper, barely readable. "Liz," Morales read aloud. Evan turned away, dizzy. "Anything else?" The woman hesitated. "There was something taped to the lid. Fell off when we moved it." She handed Morales a torn piece of yellow tape with a paper scrap attached. In red marker, Round 2, July 12th, Illinois State Police Evidence Lab, Springfield. The suitcase lay open under sterile lighting. Technicians cataloged every item with gloved precision. Morales and Evan stood behind the glass, watching. Inside, a folded red sweater, a single white sock with faded cartoon stars, a multicolored bead bracelet, and one thing that didn't belong in a child's suitcase, a laminated index card. Block letters, ELIMINATED. Morales exhaled. "This wasn't storage," she whispered. "This was inventory." A tech flagged something inside the lining. They peeled back a flap, revealing a metal clasp in the frame. Hidden inside, a strip of undeveloped film. Morales turned to Evan. "Can your lab digitize that?" He nodded. "If it's not too far gone. I want everything tested, fibers, soil, pollen. If that suitcase was underground or near something specific, we'll know." Evan nodded slowly, still absorbing. Morales added, "You mentioned Claire's party invitation, the one with the red balloon?" He nodded. 11 black, 1 red. Claire said the red one was her. The others were numbers. "Numbers," Morales repeated, as if tasting the weight of the word. Like a ritual, or a selection process. They stood in silence, letting the thought settle. Then Morales said, "You told me Claire feared the basement." "She did," Evan replied. Said a man was down there, tall, pale, always waiting. My parents chalked it up to nightmares. And she still wanted her party at Braxton. Evan looked away. She didn't. That night, sleep eluded him. The motel hummed with quiet. Neon from the highway blinked against the curtains. Just past midnight, his phone buzzed. One text, no name, just words. You're too close. Stop before round 3 begins. He stared at it, heart cold. Then booted up his laptop. He scoured the digitized Braxton Family Trust documents, deeds, logs, donations. Most were scrubbed, but one jumped out, a 1992 foundation filing under a shell company, Crowning Numbers Incorporated, listed as a donor to Braxton Children's Enrichment Facility. Its mission statement chilled him. Structured enrichment for high-potential minds, private instruction, controlled scenarios, group calibration, one remains. He found another file, an unofficial report from Deputy John Reinard, pulled from the original 1993 case weeks after the children vanished. His final note, this wasn't abduction. It was selection. The rest of the report was redacted. The next morning, Morales met Evan at the lab. I ran handwriting comparisons, she said, sliding a sheet across the table. One line from Claire's 1992 thank you card, the other from the suitcase note. Same curves, same G-loop, same pressure. Claire wrote the note, Morales confirmed. But the suitcase belonged to Liz. She survived round 1, Evan murmured, and helped with round 2. Morales nodded solemnly, which means she didn't die the night of the party. She flipped another page, and neither did the others. Later that afternoon, they drove 2 hours south to the old Braxton Overflow grounds. Now abandoned, the area was overtaken by grass, collapsed cabins, and a decaying amphitheater. Morales led Evan down a trail, stopping at a tree-tangled clearing. This is where the last trace was found, she said. A balloon in the trees, dismissed as wind drift. They pushed deeper. In the heart of the woods stood a crumbling fire pit ringed by stone. Evan knelt, brushing away moss. Square tiles circled the pit. One bore the number 11. Another opposite held a single etched letter, C. Claire made it out here, Morales whispered. Maybe others did too. Evan looked up, a weight in his chest. Then where are they? Stacks of plastic containers, broken crates, and mold-darkened cardboard boxes loomed in every corner of the salvage facility. But one section had been taped off completely. A far corner walled with industrial shelving where 3 nearly identical child-sized trunks had been found. Morales flashed her badge and slipped beneath the tape. Evan followed, his gut tight. Each trunk bore a number. Trunk 03, KY, Trunk 07, Sam, Trunk 09, unknown. All 3 shared identical features: recessed handles, child-safe locks, soft foam lining. But inside, they were anything but safe. Each had bizarre fixtures: small hooks, embedded plastic rings, and rubber restraints tucked into the foam panels like pieces of some twisted kit. In Trunk 03 lay a single child's shoe, its heels scuffed, toes curled inward. Trunk 07 held a cracked Viewmaster toy, still loaded with a cartoon reel faded by time. Trunk 09 contained only one item, a red birthday hat, folded flat and stained dark with something unidentifiable. Morales didn't speak. She didn't have to. These weren't hiding spots. They were containers. They were process stations. In the KY trunk, beneath the foam, a false panel clicked loose with a gentle pull. Evan crouched beside a technician as they lifted it, revealing a narrow, hidden compartment. Inside, a wax-sealed envelope. Morales opened it delicately and pulled out a yellow cardstock slip, a game scorecard. 12 names, handwritten in childlike scrawl, ran down the left side. Next to each name, tally marks. Some had 4, some had 5. Some, like Claire's, had none. Sam's name had 4 vertical lines with a red X slashed through them. Beside it, a small sketch of an eye. They were keeping score, Evan whispered. Of what? Morales asked, eyes narrowed. A tech leaned in. Looks like behavioral rounds, reaction tracking. Tallies could represent emotional thresholds, maybe fear triggers. Fear, Evan echoed. It wasn't a guess. It was the only explanation that fit. That night, Morales called in Dr. Helen Arjo, a retired profiler from the FBI's Behavioral Science Unit. She met them at a secure analysis lab, the materials already prepped for review. Images of the trunks, the symbols, the recordings, the tally cards. Arjo was quiet, methodical, clinical. She moved through the data like she'd seen this before. This wasn't abduction, she said at last. It was a trial, structured trauma exposure. Evan sat forward. A trial? Arjo nodded, tapping a still from the tape. 12 chairs arranged in a circle. Classic confrontation setup, subjects facing inward, forced to engage. Someone was observing reactions. Who screamed first? Who obeyed? Who froze? You mean it was a test? Morales asked. Multiple rounds, Arjo said. Some kids were eliminated, others recorded, studied, reassigned. Evan's chest tightened. Reassigned where? If this was a controlled study, survivors were likely transferred into other programs, possibly as observers, even moderators. Later, alone again in his motel room, Evan couldn't shake the imagery. The circle of chairs, the empty one, the red balloon, the fire pit with the tile-etched C. He stared at the ceiling. A new, horrifying thought had taken root. Claire hadn't been eliminated. She had been chosen. His phone buzzed. Another message. Same unknown number. She made it through, but you won't. Attached, a JPEG. Evan opened it. A Polaroid. Claire, older now, maybe in her early 20s, blank-eyed, hair tied back, dressed in institutional gray, standing in front of a numbered door, room 104, handwritten below the photo, promoted, observation wing. Evan's grip tightened on the phone until his hand ached. Someone had kept her alive, but not as a victim, as something else. July 14th, Motel, room 103, Riverview, Illinois. Evan sat in stunned silence for nearly an hour. He'd scanned the photo under UV light. Facial recognition software returned an 87% match, allowing for aging and light distortion. It was Claire, alive. But what haunted him wasn't the confirmation. It was the look in her eyes. Vacant, detached. Not pain, not fear. Something colder. Obedience. At 3:12 a.m., he called Morales. I just got a photo. Claire's alive, he said, and someone sent it to me like a threat. He emailed it to her. She opened it mid-call. That's not a threat, she replied. That's control. They're flexing. Evan stared at the digital file. Room 104. It's a facility, right? Could be, Morales said. And look, on the door plate, a faint logo. I'll forward it to our enhancement team. She paused. And the handwriting. It matches the label from the eliminated card. Evan's voice cracked. What if this is round 3? By late morning, lab results confirmed the symbol behind Claire in the photo. A vertical key crossing a circle. It was the former insignia of a now-defunct behavioral health institute called Crowning Promise, affiliated with Crowning Numbers Incorporated. The facility had closed in 1996 amid allegations of unethical child simulations, mostly involving wards of the state and psychiatric referrals. Its last known location, a rural complex 30 minutes outside Harrisburg, Illinois. Morales gripped the steering wheel tighter as they approached the rusted gates. A faded sign barely hung on. Crowning Promise Developmental Retreat. The guardhouse was deserted. Windows smashed. Ivy devoured the fencing. This place isn't dead, Morales muttered. It's buried. Inside, time had rotted everything. Wheelchairs rusted in corners. Paperwork scattered like leaves. Child drawings still clung to cork boards. Stick figures before numbered doors beneath banners that read, "Stay inside until it's time." Evan touched a cracked poster. We all go through the rounds. That's how we evolve. Deeper in the West Wing, room 104 waited. The observation room had no windows. Foam-padded walls, a narrow steel bed. Disabled surveillance cameras, wires slashed. Beneath the bed, another photo. Claire, sitting beside another child. Liz, both in small gray uniforms. Claire's sleeve, 01. Liz's 05. They weren't victims, Morales murmured. Evan nodded, hollow. They were subjects. 2 doors down, they found the file room. Most drawers were corroded shut, but one opened with effort. Folders labeled with initials and numbers. C.W. Claire Weldon, S.M. Sam Martinez. Morales opened Claire's file. Dozens of evaluations, typed and handwritten. Repetition after repetition, retained, failed. One entry. Subject continues to show elevated compliance under duress. Fear suppression optimal. Approved for round 3. Another. Subject displays increasing tendency to monitor peers during stress scenarios, emerging moderator capability. Final entry. Transfer to control wing approved. August 2nd, 1993. Authorized by D. Ren. Evans stared at the name. I've seen that signature. He reached into his bag and pulled out Claire's hidden letter, the one he'd found beneath the stage. In the bottom right corner, faint and buried in the grain. The same signature. Dr. Wren. She knew, Evan whispered. Even back then she knew his name. They didn't leave until dusk. As they passed through the playroom, Morales paused near a collapsed toy chest. Beneath the debris, a VHS tape, nearly destroyed but still labeled. Round 3 initiation. Day 1, August 5th, 1993. She tucked it carefully into her satchel. Evan stared down the empty hallway of the observation wing. I think Claire was promoted, he said. And I think round 3 never ended, but not as a survivor. Morales turned to Evan, her expression caught between horror and disbelief. As what then? He didn't answer. Not right away. But the realization was already hardening in his chest. As someone who now runs the game, July 15, 2024. Illinois State Archives, Springfield. The VHS tape wasn't blank. Grainy footage flickered to life in the archive lab's analog viewing room. A dim hallway, numbered doors in harsh block lettering. A flat, male voice narrated. Round 3, initiation day 1, subject count 12. Room observation begins at 0700 hours. Control subject is active. The tape jumped. Room 104. A girl standing perfectly still. Claire, age 10, pale, blank-eyed. Number 01 stitched on her gray uniform. Behind her, a man in a white coat, face obscured, leaned in and whispered something into her ear. She didn't move, didn't flinch. She nodded. Then static. Morales stopped the tape. She wasn't just surviving, she said. She was participating. Evan stared at the paused image. Claire's face was both hers and not. Her body still, her gaze devoid. She became what they made her. Later that morning, they met with a record specialist who unearthed the identity behind the signature. Dr. Douglas Wren, a disgraced behavioral theorist who vanished in 1993 after a state probe into unauthorized experiments involving children. Some said he fled overseas. Others believed he died in a mysterious fire at a secondary research compound. But Morales had found more. From a buried transfer memo in 1994 linked to an orphanage-turned-research campus in upstate New York, she pointed to one name, Claire Weldon. Or rather, Clara Ward. Not only did they keep her, Morales whispered, they gave her his name. His position she never escaped, Evans said. She graduated. By evening, forensics had digitized the film strip from Liz's suitcase. 6 frames, all from room 104. Childlike chalk drawings covered the walls, lanky figures, clocks without hands, red X's across faces. In the final photo, Claire knelt beside Liz, who was crying, her hand resting protectively on Liz's shoulder. scrawled across the back wall. No one else leaves. Evan walked the motel parking lot in circles, unable to breathe. His phone buzzed. Another image. A group photo, 12 kids on the Braxton Ballroom stage. Claire stood at the edge, blank-faced. One child had been scratched out. A red message followed. One always fails. The rest become the next round. And then, return to the house. The rest is waiting. Back at the motel, Morales read through the last file recovered from Crowning Promise. A letter, never mailed, from Liz. To the boy with the red sneakers, I hope you never come back. But if you do, I left you the map. Look under the last chair. Chair 12, Morales whispered. What kind of party ends with one chair left standing? Evan looked at her. He already knew. The kind that isn't over yet. July 16th, 2024. Braxton Estate, Southern Illinois. They arrived just before dawn. Fog blanketed the lawn. The house looked unchanged. But it wasn't. Something inside had been waiting. They moved in silence through the ballroom, their lights cutting through the murk. Morales found chair 12. Beneath it, a click, a black envelope. Twine-wrapped, red wax seal etched with the key and circle symbol. Inside, a map, but not of streets, of rounds. 1, the ball, the room. 3, the watch. 4, the mirror. 5, the mask. 6, the switch. 7, the witness. 8, the fire. 9, the gift. The 10th selection. 11th, the door. 12th, the crown. 12 rounds, Evan murmured, and we're only at 11. They descended again. The air was no longer still. The ceiling vent screws had been disturbed. Evan climbed and removed the cover. Inside, a cassette. Labeled, for EW Final Game, Do Not Play Alone. They played it upstairs. A young girl's voice crackled through the dust and static. Hi, Evan. If you found this, then I didn't fail. Claire's voice. They made me watch the others, over and over, said it wasn't a test. It was a story, and I had to learn the end. If I could keep going, I'd become the one who chooses. But I remembered something you told me when we were little, that there's no such thing as real magic, just people pretending to be more powerful than they are. A pause. So I stopped pretending. If you're here, you're close to the crown. That's the final round, the one where only one walks away. Find the red door. It's beneath everything. If it opens, you can end it. But don't bring anyone. They always take the witness. Click. The tape ended. She never left, Morales said. She became this place, Evan answered. Behind the far basement wall, they found it. A red door, small, no window, no handle, just a sentence carved in the wood. Whoever wears the crown decides the end. The key symbol from the wax seal fit perfectly into the round slot. They paused before going back down, needing air. But just as they stepped outside, Morales' phone rang. The Benton medical examiner. We processed the DNA from trunk 03, the voice said. It's not a child's. What? It's from a woman in her late 30s, a close match to Claire Weldon. Evan blinked. Who? He asked. Morales whispered, I think we just found who really wore the crown. July 16th, 2:37 p.m. Braxton Estate. Sub-level tunnel. The red door opened. The tunnel was curved, concrete, dug deep and precise. Their lights barely penetrated the black. Scrape marks lined the floor. Ducks crawled the ceiling. A sound, click, 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 metal on stone. The tunnel opened into a vast circular chamber. In the center, 12 chairs. On the wall, a shattered observation window. Behind it, recorders, cabinets, tape decks, and in the far corner, a mannequin in a child's dress. The number 01 stitched to its chest. The Crown Room, Morales whispered. Each chair bore a brass nameplate. Claire, Liz, Sam, Kai, Margot, Tyler, Joy, Ash, Robin, Mira, blank. The last chair had its name scratched out. In its place, jagged carving. The next, They made her choose, Morales said. 12 children, 1 crown. The game ends when one agrees to become the architect. A noise echoed down the tunnel. Footsteps. They weren't alone. In the observation room, they gathered all they could. One file, sealed in plastic, revealed everything. Subject 01. Completed 12 simulations. No collapse. Total obedience. Final session. Chose unprompted. Cold. Final. Control group terminated. Recommendation. Subject 01 designated new facilitator. Psychological rewrite. Scheduled August 20th, 1993. Signed D. Wren. Evan read it, heart pounding. She wasn't the victim, he whispered. She was the final test. Then, light. A panel blinked to life. Red. Labeled simulation mode. Stand by. A voice crackled through the speaker. Female, calm, controlled. If you're hearing this, the house has reopened, and the crown is unclaimed. Morales staggered back. What the hell is this? The voice continued. Rounds are not about punishment. They are about endurance. Fear is the truest mirror. And the one who wears the crown sees everything. Welcome to round 13. The wall screen lit up. A timer blinked to life. 25, 59, 59. Evan stared at it, his breath shallow. They never intended to stop, he whispered. This was never about 1993. This was a loop. A low vibration rolled through the compound. Somewhere deeper inside, doors unlocked. Another hallway revealed itself. Morales drew her sidearm. You coming? Evan nodded, no hesitation. They advanced. The hallway led to what appeared to be a dormitory. 15 rooms, all numbered, all sealed, except one. Room 13. Its door was missing. Inside, the walls were papered with drawings. Crude, childlike, haunting, figures with blacked-out eyes, mouths erased, hands over their faces. One drawing showed a crowned figure in red. Another, a teenage Claire, surrounded by surveillance cameras, a speech bubble scrawled above her head. I picked you. Evan's knees buckled. I think she chose me, he whispered. Morales didn't speak. She had just spotted something beneath the bed, a pair of red sneakers. Evan knelt. His breath hitched. They were his. Frayed laces, melted eyelid on the left shoe. He hadn't seen them since he was 5. She took them, he murmured. She brought them here. Or someone else did, Morales replied. Someone who knew you'd come back. He looked up at her. They've been planning this for 30 years. The timer ticked down. 1:47:12. Morales swept her light through the dormitory. It was stripped clean, except for the drawings, the uniforms, and one mirror. In room 07, bolted above a sink, fractured, etched into the glass. The ones who watched became the ones who decided. Morales stared at her broken reflection. Her badge glinted over her heart. She turned away. Let's finish this. At the end of the hall stood a fire door with a bent handle. They forced it open. The final chamber. Circular, silent. One pedestal in the center. Atop it, a red crown. Reinforced resin, copper wire, film strips looped through its frame. Beneath it, a laminated photo. Claire, age 24, expression blank. Standing in front of this very crown. Next to the photo, typed instructions. Round 13. Initiation. Subject enters alone. Facilitator observes. Subject is asked to choose. Forget or replace. The one who forgets becomes the outsider. The one who replaces becomes the crown. Evan read the page 3 times. They weren't testing fear, he said. They were building obedience. Morales shook her head. Number. They were erasing guilt, replacing it with control. These weren't survivors. They were recruits. A speaker clicked. Claire's voice. You made it. Evan froze. I watched you in the house. I knew you'd find the door. I knew you'd be curious. He moved closer to the pedestal. Morales followed. I didn't leave because I couldn't. I stayed because someone had to. That's how the rounds work. One stays, the others forget. Evan clenched his fists. You chose this. I stopped fighting it. You will too. Morales shouted, Where are you, Claire? No answer, just dimmed lights. The walls rotated, revealing hidden screens. Footage from 1993. The party, the children, the rounds. Round 1, blindfolded games. Round 2, silent stare contests. Round 5, masks shaped like animals. Round 8, candle lighting trust tests. Round 10. Claire, alone, asked to name one child. Wassam, she said. The screen went black. She sacrificed them, Evan said. Or she thought she had to, Morales murmured. The pedestal glowed. A drawer hissed open. Inside, an envelope. Evan's name in Claire's handwriting. He opened it with trembling hands. Inside, a candid photo. Claire laughing, cake on her cheek. The others behind her, mid-smile. On the back, 6 words. I wanted to save them all. Evan sat. The crown pulsed. The room waited. He heard her voice again. Not the Claire on the tape. The Claire from their childhood. Just follow me. I won't let anything bad happen. Morales stood behind him. We don't know what happens if you touch it. That's the point, he said. A hatch opened. A new screen came to life. Live feed, Claire, mid-30s, hair shorter, streaks of gray. She stood behind reinforced glass. Calm, present. This isn't punishment, Evan, she said. It's about what you're willing to carry. He stepped forward. Then why bring me? Because I carried it too long. You saw me. Before the numbers. I needed you to see what I became. I was a kid. You're not anymore. Morales's radio crackled. Dispatch trying to reach her. She silenced it. This isn't therapy, she said. It's ritualized control. Evan whispered, No, it's worse. It's succession. The names on the wall, the endless list. It wasn't about healing. It was recruitment. Claire's voice again, the choice is the test. Walk away and forget me, or wear it and remember everything. But you think that's mercy? Evan asked. I think it's the only way to end it. Evan turned to Morales. I won't let this happen again. Then we shut it down, she said. No more rounds. But Claire's voice cut in. You don't destroy the crown. You inherit it. The pedestal clicked. Timer, 001019. Morales backed away. We need to evacuate. But Evan stepped closer. He reread the note. 6 words. I wanted to save them all. He remembered Claire that night, carrying his sleeping bag, sneaking him cupcakes, protecting him. Maybe this wasn't power. Maybe it was a prison. He reached for the crown. Evan, don't! Morales yelled. Too late. The room dimmed. Claire's final message, one always forgets. The other becomes the door. Light, heat, then darkness. When he opened his eyes, the room was empty. No crown, no timer, just one envelope. For the next one. July 17th, 2024. Springfield FBI Field Office. Evan sat silently in the interview room. Morales watched from behind the glass. He hadn't spoken in hours. Not since emerging from the tunnel. No Claire, no crown. Just the envelope. Inside, a cassette. And a list. 12 names. Born 2013 to 2015, from Missouri, Arkansas, Chicago, Southern Illinois. Beside each name, one word. Invited. The tape played in the next room. Claire's voice. The crown doesn't end. It moves. I gave Evan the choice I never had. And now he'll give someone else the same. Don't look for me. I'm gone. He remembers everything now. The question is, what will he do with it? Evan sat still. He could feel the weight inside him. Like the crown had always been there. All the dreams, the whispers, the red balloon. They weren't dreams, they were rounds. He looked at his hands. On the table, a blank envelope waited. Later that night, Morales returned with a federal team. The Braxton house was empty. The sublevels sealed. No trace of the crown room, no tapes, no door. Only one thing remained in the ballroom. A folding chair, a red balloon tied to it. A note, "Next party begins soon. August 12th, 2024. Location unknown." A girl sat alone in a waiting room. 11 years old. Yellow dress, new shoes. In her lap, a manila envelope. Her name on the front. She was alone. A chime sounded. A red door opened. A soft voice. "Claire will see you now." The girl stood. She smiled and walked through.